I released a new short film that I'm working on with some other folks in a group that is called Lucky Shake. It's up on, I don't know, everywhere I can put it basically at this point. So YouTube and Twitter, and I have it on Facebook and, maybe a few other spots as well. And then the most recent writing that I released is a story called Relic of the Aztecs, and that is an ebook that I am currently in production of the audiobook for. Hope to get that out next month. We'll see. Kind of been pretty swamped with the AI video stuff since I started doing that with this group. So I don't know that I'll hit that deadline, but kind of working on a few things in tandem. How about you? What are you about? What do you have going on? What would you like to tell us about or anything?
What I was interested was I saw you on Warpcaster there and talking about doing the spaces today. And so I was more interested in the writing part, but then actually when you mentioned the film, I thought that was cool too. So where you write, like I write for Medium right now, but I was thinking about Paragraph and about Mirror, XYZ, both of them. And if you've tried both of those yet, I know you did the Paragraph, right?
Paragraph? I don't know that I have tried. Is that all like Farcaster protocol stuff?
Yeah, the Paragraph.xyz and the Mirror.xyz to me are very similar,
Okay.
except for the Paragraph. It publishes in frames, like the frames on. Are you familiar with the frames on Warpcaster yet? The Farcaster.
No, I'm not. I have only used Warpcaster. I really ought to take some time and dig a little deeper into their ecosystem because it is quite dynamic and they have a lot going on over there from their developer community. But no, it sounds like you're better informed than me.
Well, I've been studying it for too long. And so now I'm just like, how you get to the point where, like, I was going to do a Paragraph article a few months ago. And I thought, no, I'm going to listen. There's two girls on Farcaster that started, I can't remember what they're called now, something, the something guys, but but they are two girls that do this radio show every morning at 8:30. So I thought that's my on to-do list to get listening to that regularly, because I find it Farcaster is all about devs, and to me they talk about they want to bring the whole world onto this Web3, right? But it's more about them showing off, what skills they have in coding or whatever with these new things that they have frames. So I don't know, like it's a lot of information or whatever. So I kind of have a general idea of what they're doing. And then I thought, oh, I'm just going to stick with Medium. But then when I saw you pop up, I thought, okay, here's a guy who is a writer. And so I've published a couple of books on Amazon, or
Very cool.
three. Yeah, that were just self-published through KDP.
Yeah.
And so there are things that are like, I had a store for 10 years. So I used them more, like I didn't ever try to promote them. And so I don't know about promoting at all. And so, but they're really cool little books about, one's called Magical Fairies, Dragons, and Friends. So it's got all Celtic lore in it because I had this little Celtic store. I used to sell sweaters and stones and stuff. And then I did another one called Thank Our Lucky Stones because it's about gemstones and all old lore about that too. So I already have all of this IP that I could use in short spurts on something like Medium and whatever. And so now I have the time because I closed the store down, and so I thought I'll try and figure out how you can actually make money writing, because I already have it all written and I've got tons of pictures and photos, and then I'm well versed with Chat GPT 4 too, and I've got all kinds of cool stories I've written that I've gotten pictures from the Dolly too. So anyway, like I'm just a newbie in promoting writing, and so with you, that's what I was wondering. Like, if have you actually done Medium articles yet too, or
Oh
because
yeah.
I thought Medium. Oh, because what I read on Farcaster is or and about Paragraph and about Mirror dot XYZ is that both of them, you totally own all of your writing and everything
Well, you're going to own your writing regardless of where you
of where it
publish it.
is.
Yeah. It's going to be yours.
Well, that's what I thought. Like I thought, and so anyway, I do have some articles that I like that I've written on Medium, but now I've got tons that I've written that I haven't published, so I thought I'll start doing them, once a week or whatever. But I also set myself up on Twitter. So I used to do this thing called Speakers from the Heart. Like I was a businesswoman, so in a small community, like 80,000 in our city, So I've done really well over, the last 10 or 20 years within the community. But now I thought I'll take it online because it's easy for me to translate online. So I started the Twitter and I haven't done any of the spaces yet, but I thought I'd do spaces and just let people come on and tell their stories because I'm more about storytelling.
Hmm.
And so I haven't done it yet. And what I saw now is that you can publish articles on Twitter too.
You
And
can.
so I'm an Elon fan. Like I do like Elon, but I know a lot of people have a hate on for him on, it seemed to me, on the Paragraph, I mean, on Farcaster.
Before we get too far down all of these different paths, what specific thing do you want me to address
Well,
first?
I'd like to hear your story because now, and the other thing is, I do have a YouTube channel. And so I used to use it and then I took all kinds of the stuff off because it was all store related. And then now I thought I can start using it because I know how to. So, what would you suggest? Like you say, writing, publishing, and authorship.
Yeah.
So, for yourself, like I just started looking at your things last night and then I didn't get a chance yet today, but like you write about stuff that I'm actually interested in. So I'll
Well, hey,
start,
thanks.
I'll look, yeah. And so how has your journey been in terms of like I write because I just have to write, like I love it. And so, but I'd like to make a income coming in as well. So have you been able to do that yet?
So I have done a lot of different editorial over the years. I used to do a lot of client work, so commercial writing and copywriting and copy editing and web publishing and print publishing, magazines and periodicals and all kinds of different stuff. And it was about 5, 6 years ago that I decided I wanted to start putting some things out under my own name that basically I would be able to build up a constellation of works that were not only under my name, but I could kind of tie together and keep building on. So that kind of came out of blogging. I used social media and blogging as a workshopping sort of collection of platforms before I got the editorial print ready to put into book forms and audiobook forms. And then, I have a documentary out on Amazon Prime that is basically one of the books converted into film.
Will you remind me about what's the title of that doc? Because I think I saw it.
Yeah, so it's called 1893 Chicago's Columbian Exposition.
Oh, yeah, I saw the title of it.
Cool. Yeah. Well, if you would like to watch it at some point, it is available on Amazon and Gumroad for international audiences. I don't know where you're based or if you have access to Prime in the locations that it
Yeah,
is available. So
I'm in Canada and I do have Prime, so I
cool.
will watch it.
Well, I would say for you, right, is like build up your social presence, build up your distribution network. So you might choose Medium, you might choose Substack, you might choose to use them in tandem and kind of release things across all these different platforms. So you exist there and you're getting indexed and you are searchable on their databases, not only in terms of like Google or Bing and the larger web index search platforms, but the local search that exists on each of those sites, the same way that you're talking about using the Farcaster protocol to basically release these articles too, because they may or may not be getting indexed yet, or they might be
Yeah.
creating their own indices only on those platforms and across their development community as everything kind of pings around on the platforms that spring up from the Farcaster protocol. So I would say do those things and write about your books. This is an opportunity to promote as well. You are more than welcome to share a tweet that has a link to your work or your author page on KDP up into the nest there. This is totally free form. You're not restricted in any capacity that way. Or you could drop a comment onto the Spaces tweet as well and promote it. I'm not gonna down on anybody for doing that. I do those same things myself to promote and drive traffic and get eyeballs and ears on the stuff that I'm making, because that's what's important to me, is that people know about the work that I'm releasing. And I feel like we spend a lot of time manufacturing our work, and a lot of times we kind of jump from one thing to the next, and maybe we don't offer enough time to promote and let people know about what we have released. So I would say, if you don't have a tweet that has your books or anything on them, tweet that stuff out. You can pin them to your profile. You can then re-reference those tweets in the future, build threads out of them, or whatever you like. And that's kind of a way to chain your information together, but then have it readily available to bring into spaces like this and bring up those topics whenever it is that you choose. So I would say that's really the way to go about that, at least on Twitter. In the meantime, what's up, Chris? Yeah, welcome back. We are talking with Mary. She is a writer. She is published on KDP as well. I think you said you have a couple of things out on there, so that's the right direction.
I did try to share it on here, but somebody told me that, like, on Spaces, I just was putting the URL in, the link, just to see if it would work, because I thought it was just you and me. And it says that I couldn't upload that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
I don't.
so
I'm not
is that
sure.
normal that you can't? Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know what you're looking at on your end. I never have a problem loading a KDP link or an Amazon link to a tweet.
Oh, that's weird. It's just me today then.
Yeah,
Okay.
could be.
So hi everybody. I'll be quiet now and listen.
No, you're free to join the conversation anytime you like.
The whole thing is just, if you have anything you want to share, just tweet it out and stuff like that, and we'll. I just followed you, so I'll be able to look over anything you do, and we can just share it in the space. After you tweet it out. It's always good to tweet stuff out, even if you repeat yourself. It's this type of space is big about aggregating information, so it's always good to keep putting stuff out there so that somebody else could aggregate it, and then the next person, the next person, the next person. So especially stuff like KDP, because they have their own aggregators, but when you can bring outside into that environment, they like that you promote, and I'm sure it feeds their their aggregators information something fierce. So always good to have more out there.
Do you want to spend a little bit of time talking about the AI video project that we've been working on lately? Because I feel like you're here, and I'd like to hear about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I figure I talk about it too much, but yeah, definitely. But yeah, so just like the video project is an idea, and it's kind of a reaction to one of the other spaces you had about publishing and stuff before we had started working together. The idea of trying to use the new technology to do something that classically has been very difficult. And so when we had the contest, me and Keith, even the stills contest, it was about trying to build story with still images. And I saw how many people really tried to say something with that. And that was really poignant, really powerful. And then of course video comes along and just does a whole lot better, where Runway and all that other stuff starts to really take its stride and start to really become a tool that's very possible to do a lot with in production. Not everything. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, not even close to any stretch of the imagination. But what it does very well. And so, like, the video project that we're working on is part of this idea that I convinced basically two groups. One is entertainment, and another one is NACS, to kind of say, hey, let's get these ideas together and try and make narrative work that we could put out to the world, and see if we can get people to go, okay, yeah, this is something that it does hit me in a certain way. And it's kind of a lot of how I've heard people find authors on KDP, where it's like they didn't really think that they were going to find anything. I have a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, who didn't have a Kindle. They had their friend's Kindle in their hand, and they found an author in their genre that they liked. They just happened to like biker romance novels. That was like their thing. Loved it. And she was like, oh, I didn't really think that was going to be something I would want to do. And like, she found an author in that genre and just read the description of the basic, the blurb, the inside cover type of thing of the story, and was hooked, and then bought a Kindle, has a Kindle for years, is a dedicated KDP customer, finds other authors in that same genre and just buys the books regardless of whatever it is, just has that instant like need to consume it. And I thought that there's a possibility that video and movies have that. And I think that there's a new realm of auteur that I think authors have really gotten, had really strongly for many decades, where it's that, like the Stephen King, like you always know what you're kind of getting. And I think that there's movies that could be made in that same vein. Funny enough, many movies are Stephen King movies. But I think that there's like something in film that could be done that way. And I think that there's a way to do that with AI. And I think that there's a way to do that with combined tools with AI and blockchain and stuff like that. So that's kind of the gist, as quick as I think I can do it on that.
Yeah, totally fair, reasonable. Happy to be participating in that. I am trying to get a rough cut out of my next piece out today for you to get a look at, because it's shaping up pretty well. I'm probably close to, I think, like 10 minutes of footage now, which is kind of a lot.
Shit.
Yeah, it's gonna get whittled down a lot, but at the same time, before I start making those cuts, I'm just basically throwing everything in there and then trying to make decisions about transitioning and how the story's shaping up. And that's kind of a writing process where I'm developing the editorial, basically after having all of these images and then creating more images to fill out story, and then kind of retroactively creating a narrative arc out of the stuff that I was able to get from Stable Diffusion and Runway for video. I'm gonna just mute you there for a second, Mary. You're free to unmute whenever you like. There's a little background noise. Ruth, welcome up. Haven't talked to you in a while. How's it been?
I I was gonna say good, but I'm in BSV, right?
Sucker, you a sucker.
Oh dear, what a shit show. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm good, thanks. I
What
don't
have
want
you
to
been working
interrupt
on?
because you guys sound like you're talking about. Well, you're asking me what I'm working on.
Yeah, this is just a conversation. We're just hanging out.
All right, get this. It's gonna blow your mind. I've written a book about Bitcoin,
The real Bitcoin.
the real Bitcoin,
Okay.
a novel, and
Oh, cool.
I'm like, should I publish it? I
You
don't know.
should. Is it a sequel to Michelle Seven's
No,
novel?
God no. Oh, but I do remember that. Yeah, that was bad, wasn't it?
No, it's fantastic. I love her, man. She's awesome.
Well, she's something.
She's an absolute lighthouse in the dark.
Okay, she's pretty epic. Let's use the word epic and leave it there. Anyhow, so I'm really wondering because the timing is very weird. So, but I have finished it, and I'm just sort of finishing the edits currently. It is kind of ready to publish.
Very
So,
cool. When did you start?
Yeah.
Because I know when we talked late last year, you were kind of kicking around a few different things, and maybe it's hard for me to remember exactly, but
This is probably one of them. Yeah, no, I think this is probably, and I'd probably started it, but I hadn't got very far.
okay,
So I've finished it now, and I've actually, I kind of thought it'll just be a one-off because I'll never be able to, add to this later. But then I immediately thought of a sequel, so I'm
perfect.
maybe going to start the sequel. But like whether I should even publish the first one is up for debate because it's such a kind of a, I don't know. I'd get so much hate for
Why?
it.
But yeah, but that's just perfectly fine. That's part of the promotion. You can't do anything without getting some hate.
Exactly. There is a part of me. Yeah, there is a part of me that thinks no, great, because at least people will know about it. But I mean, I have been hacked all over the weekend. Many hack attempts on my businesses, and a lot of vitriol, a lot of nasty messages, and so on. So I am already under attack. So, the question is, do I want to invite yet more? I don't know. Maybe I do. Fuck it. Maybe I do. Because I certainly don't really care what people think about me. But it would be nice if they like the book, but they won't. People are going to be absolutely horrified to read it. But that might be part of the fun.
that might
I'm
that
game.
might very well be. If you wrote a horror story, you wrote a horror story. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, we could call it a horror story. It will be wildly controversial. Anyway, let's put it like that.
Is
If
it
I do publish
fiction
it,
or is it
it's
nonfiction?
fiction.
Oh, okay.
It's
Well, that's fine.
fiction, but it's called the Bitcoin Singularity. So it's about merging Bitcoin with AI.
Cool. I say
So
run it. Publish it.
yeah.
Put it out there,
Um,
and then next time when we have this session, you can come and promote it that it's out and tell us whatever important parts we should know. I don't want to dig out the plot from you right now while you're still kind of getting into the shape, but you're free to talk about anything or ask about anything if you like.
well, let's put it like this: the really controversial aspect of it is that Craig Wright is in it.
Oh, he's actually a character in it. That's
Yeah.
well,
So I mean, I could, I could write him out maybe, but like I'm not inclined to. But anyway, so that will
just
get me all
rename him
kinds of grief. Well,
Stephen
this is it.
Wrong.
I can, yeah, I can do that. But anyhow, that's my quandary. What are you guys writing or working on? You sound like you were making a video, from what I could tell.
We have been making videos. Yeah, Chris has assembled a group of folks working on AI films. I am one of them, luckily. Um, we have been putting out our first narrative pieces. I'm working on my second, hoping to get it out by next Thursday. It's in decent shape. It has a lot of uh, work in terms of the sound and editing, post production stuff. There's a few things that I need to do on that side. Oh, there's a lot, more than a few. There's a lot of things I need to do on that side. But yeah, I'll let him talk about it and more.
And where are you publishing it? I mean, what's the intention of it?
Chris, chime in with that.
Well, I mean, the intention is to kind of make a resurgence of like the ownership economy that people shit on so much. It's kind of the thing that we lost in streaming is that everyone was like, oh, I'm not going to buy DVDs anymore. And then people are getting angry when the platform that they don't own any part of starts taking stuff off of the platform that they like. So I was like, well, VOD is not exactly the greatest thing either, but it does have its positives to it. So more of what I was trying to do is see if we can make more narratives and put them together. Ultimately, I would really like to make something longer form, but enough short narratives together and have people start understanding that this is what we're doing, where it creates that relationship where it's like kind of like Criterion. Like Criterion could come out with literally anything and I'd probably be into it. And I'd want to kind of create that relationship where it's like, oh, oh, they're putting out another video. Oh, this one's going to be, this one's going to be a Michael. I already know what Michael does. Or it's going to be an Alana, and I know that I like this certain art style that she has, and blah, 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 where it's like, oh, I know what I'm getting and I want that. And yeah, and then also just to kind of prove the model, just because I think more creative should be using this stuff to ideate and, even, execute on ideas in longer form. But yeah, just to kind of make a kind of open, consumable type of situation. And then, show everyone how we did it along the way, because we have spaces every Thursday about this stuff.
I'm all right. I'm confused. I feel like there's a lot of information I don't have here. So are you making a platform as well?
Oh, no. Use all the platforms that exist, because you know what happens if you make a platform, you go broke like immediately.
Oh, true. It's very, very hard to do video platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been putting my videos out on Twitter and YouTube. I just loaded Lucky Shake up to Facebook as well, so it's on my page on there.
Also, the other part is we're using, so the last 2 weeks that we did weekly videos, we put them out on Solana. And the purpose of that was to have it be consumable somewhere, where somebody who wants to buy a Solana token that has a video attached to it, as long as whatever host Solana has, like if it's IPFS or whatever the fuck they use, they'll be able to always watch that video. It's not beholden to a platform to stream it. It's going to be like, if the video is hosted, as far as Solana is concerned or exchange art is concerned, it will always be watchable. And that's the other part of it, is that's the video store aspect. That's where you go to the video store and you buy something instead of rent it. This is that type of aspect. And watch.
It's a good point, because I've had books of mine on Audible deleted before now, and so it is super annoying. But I'm just gonna plug Bitcoin SV here for a second. We just throw the whole video on chain because that's how we roll.
I mean, it depends on how long it is.
It does depend how long it is, but we have put massive 4-hour videos on chain before now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've put I don't think I ever put videos on chain, but I was doing music, and maybe I did load a couple of clips, but not.
Are you inscribing, or are you just having them posted separately?
So this is a different chain.
No, these are actually put on chain.
Yeah, this is actually the BSV fork of BCH, which is basically a database server style Bitcoin fork that you can actually host files on. You can actually put it right on chain
if you get a good enough compression algorithm. But you see, our transaction fees are very, very low. I know Solana's pretty low, isn't it? But ours are 10,000th of a penny low. So we can put a lot of data on very cheaply.
Well, okay, so hold on a second. That's not totally the full story. You can do the transaction cheaply. That doesn't mean that you can store the data cheaply.
Well, yeah.
Come on.
I mean, no, we're talking tens of dollars. We're not talking thousands or hundreds.
Depends on the quality of the data.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, what's the consumability like? Like, how do you watch it?
You can just pull it up. Right.
You can just pull it up.
Yeah, you can just pull it up.
On
right
what?
Right on a browser.
Where? Oh, so you'd have to pull it up through a platform though in order to watch it, because it's not something that you could just kind of go through. You don't have the file.
You can
it's
pull
hosted
it right
on chain.
Yeah, but you can pull it up right on a browser.
It basically breaks it into thousands of transactions and then restitches it together when you watch it.
Well, you can do that. You don't have to do that.
Well, there's a few ways. That was we did it that way back when the block size wasn't as big, but now the blocks are so big. I think I'm just trying to think. What is it? Oh God, I can't remember. Something or other that I can't remember right now. Sets a kind of a maximum size on the transaction size, and I can't remember what it is at the minute.
Yeah, not
I don't
critical.
think it's unbounded yet, but in any case, you do have to kind of restitch it together. But there's, this has been invented.
At any rate, if there are other folks that are hanging out, if you'd like to come up and talk about writing, talk about your projects, ask questions, hear more about video stuff or screenwriting or publishing books or anything like that, you are more than welcome to request the mic and come on up.
That's very interesting. I've been looking into a lot of stuff on chain, and I'm fascinated by it. But every time so the one thing that I've heard about recently and that I'm really interested in is how they're doing inscriptions with code and basically making that like essentially like somebody put an N64 emulator on chain, and it does recursive in order to access the files, but it's an N64 emulator. So it's similar idea, like why not video? Because even like the smallest N64 game is probably going to be a size enough that a video would not look totally horrible. And there's a whole distribution method in there for it, and you can essentially sell a player that has all this recursive data that you can only play whatever that data points to. So that's why I'm always trying to figure out different ways of doing that, just because not with the stuff we're doing, but in the future when there's more rarity to the ideas, like I would love to do something more in tune with that.
So here's how I would do that. I would make the emulator software, but I would store the games as packets inside of inscriptions or inside of transactions, opera codes, op return codes and stuff like that. So that like basically you could download the game, or you could even like transaction protect the game for rental or purchase on chain, and then basically reference that through the emulator software that you have locally. I wouldn't do the emulator on chain.
Interesting. Yeah, it's just like the distribution method. I mean, that's the thing. I really like the distribution methods that like have this alteration to it, just because you can either control what's still on chain, or no one can control it, depending on, I guess, how you structure it, and it's just always there. And that's kind of like the power, I think, in what artists can really kind of future proof themselves with.
Yeah, I mean, and everything is prunable as well. So I mean, if like bad things happen and you want a particular like compliance standard to be met, you just like prune out the transactions that have stuff that isn't compliant on them, and then you're not serving that non-compliant data through your client, basically, whatever that might be, whatever that might look like. I mean, writing transactions is writing too, and to understand how to utilize blockchain for content distribution, like I've been doing that for a long time at this point, playing around with how that interacts with editorial and pictorial content. Even before BSV was around, like that was all going on. That's not a new thing by any means. It's just that they were very much like maximalists about how you could do all this different functionality, both in terms of the technology and the content storage, and having a development community that was pretty strong for a while. A couple of years there, it ran pretty good. It was definitely going places. There was a lot of money that got burned on that experiment to build up that community. But at this point, I would say like anybody still kind of shackled to that is short-sighted. It's tough to even want to be kind of affiliated with what they've done, just never backing down and constantly doubling down on the nonsense that's occurred from kind of the purse strings and leadership over there over the last, I guess, let's say like 4 years. So
just to be clear, Craig Wright's been just through a court case.
I'm aware.
Trying to prove his Satoshi-ness.
He's not, though. He's not, and he never will. Like, it's never going to happen. He never was. He never had any information, and, like, it's been constantly shown to be that way.
Well, I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Well, you're allowed to disagree and be wrong, but like that court case just came down and they just handed that down, and it's not the first time. So, like, I don't know how you can want to continue to like champion some guy unless you're on the payroll or something. If I was on the payroll, I guess I'd be like, hey, this is an interesting thing that's still happening, but it's really not,
I'm not on anyone's payroll. No, wish I was, but I'm not. No, I just believe in the tech.
Yeah, well, you can believe in the technology. The technology is fantastic, but the leadership is absurd. It's as bad as any leadership in crypto or blockchain.
You say that.
I do say that.
Paranode has just achieved 1 million transactions per second.
Cool. There's nobody using it.
Doesn't really matter though, does it?
You're right. It really doesn't matter that they achieved that if nobody's using it.
No, but my point being, if nobody is doing 1 million transactions per second because nobody's got that demand.
If you sum together the entirety of blockchain, yeah, you're probably getting into a decent count of transactions per second. But like, again, like a lot of that is happening for trading and not necessarily for content. And while I like the content aspect, and I know that there is something there that's absolutely valuable because I've used them that way, there's so much fractionalization that has occurred across the communities that it kind of resembles the same thing that you have with like book distribution or video distribution platforms, like having to get Amazon Prime and Max and Disney Plus and XYZ, in that way, like you run up against this sort of scenario where you have to be present across all these different platforms. Otherwise, people are then made to subscribe to a load of different stuff. And unfortunately, like they are now proving themselves to be incapable of making those platforms manage long term through subscription, and are looking back at advertising as the funding mechanism that will keep them alive, the same way that broadcast and cable did for decades. So it's kind of like cycling back around to the way that it was. And that will probably be also how blockchain is, in the sense that like most people are not going to be able to fund transactions. They're going to need their transactions funded for them. That's just the nature of it. Like,
that's like the banking industry and blockchain. The banking industry funds all your transactions, and you don't ask why or how they do it, and you get your money and you're happy.
Right. 100%.
But I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that.
Well, it's not decentralized.
No, what isn't? If the companies themselves fund the transactions and you pay them in dollars,
but
decentralized?
No, because you're paying the company. The company's doing it, not you or anybody like that's not a company. And if the money is the only one doing it, then it's just you're still back at the same. You're still back in banking. Like it's then going to Chase, and Chase could be OpenSea, and then you go to this one, and this one is UBI or whatever banking industry. It's not decentralized anymore. It's more centralized to these very few groups. Decentralization is more like everything is open and like kind of widespread.
Yeah, but in the period between the uptake of Bitcoin, between now and then, having things done on chain that couldn't otherwise be done surely has value.
It does. Yeah.
But it depends on who too. Like the value, that's the thing. Like emulsion film is essentially as valuable as it is in many ways, just because of its historical and all this other stuff. And how many people really own any historical film, like any emulsion, very few people because that's only matters to those people who do. But to film people, that's very precious. I think the same thing is going to happen to Bitcoin, where the grand market is going to be this, but there will be certain very, very specific collectors who want the inscribed or on-chain part of that, but everyone will be using chain for whatever other purpose.
I mean, what purpose is BTC chain used for currently?
It's yeah, I'm not going to go down that road because it's not compelling or interesting. All of the chains are being used for the reasons that the people that use them want to use them, and like grinding an axe about one or the other is pointless. Like, if you don't want to use it, don't use it. If you do want to use it, do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it's funny that people demonize a chain, though.
Yeah, but everybody wants to belong to a thing, and you're not. If you're in a cult or if you're in a club, then like you kind of have to cheerlead for that thing and also like poo-poo the other things that aren't that thing. That's just the
Well, you
nature
don't have
of
to poo-poo
in-group.
anything else. You don't have to poo-poo anything else.
All right.
Well, it depends.
Not required.
It depends if you want to like. Well, that's the thing. It's like I'm a New Yorker. I'm a hardcore Brooklyn New Yorker. I hate Staten Island, and it's not because of anything particular about Staten Island, except for the one road that goes to Jersey. But like, I hate that place because that's all I know it for is that one road that goes to Jersey. And you know what? If I go into a room of Brooklyn people, they all get it. They're like, "Fuck yeah, I hate Staten Island too," and we all join together. Now, if you're somebody that's looking for that type of community, you will poo-poo whatever the fuck you want. Like, it's like if I want to find people. There's a bunch of people in red shirts. You put on a red shirt and you go with those people. And if you want to get in with them, you want to hang with them, you want to be in communal with them, they say, "Oh, fuck the blue shirts." You're like, "Yeah, fuck the blue shirts. I'm wearing a red shirt. We're all wearing red shirts." And that's kind of how community works. Whether that's true or not, or whether it's realistic, it's whatever. Like anyone who says, "Oh, Solana's garbage," or "Bitcoin is this," or "this is that," I just go, whatever. You're a true believer in something. But it's the whole purpose of the reason why people do it is to be seen that way. It's if they really believe it or not. I mean, that depends on their zealotry of whatever that subject is.
Yeah. No, I see it because I see the tribalism every day. Like I say, I'm been hacked 16 ways the last few days. But
yeah, that's unfortunate.
It shouldn't really be that way. I mean, it is just Rails at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah. Hey, folks that are hanging out, if you would like to come up and speak, you are more than welcome to come and hang out and talk shop, talk about your projects, talk about writing, promote whatever you have going on. We were more or less talking about some video projects that we were working on over the course of March and April. And I've got an audiobook project that I'm working on right now that I would love to get out by April. If I do manage to do that, I will be shocked, but definitely making the attempt. And then, if I don't, then it will be out in May. Promise that. I've already started doing a considerable amount of work on it. So it is the audiobook for Relic of the Aztecs. It will have a straight narrative read, and it will also have an audio play version with music and sound effects, kind of some world building audio textures in there for fans of that kind of thing. It'll have both versions released on it, which kind of feeds into the video stuff because that's more or less how I approach doing the video as well, Chris, like in terms of building out the audio experience for what's happening on screen. I use a lot of the same sound effects. I grab them or I go dig up more and then place them in there.
I haven't actually changed much, and that's kind of part of like why I wanted to prove the model, which is like, so I do storyboard in the same way I used to, where it's like instead of drawing stick figures in a numbered order, I instead put, generated images in a numbered order. And now with IP adapters, I'll be able to actually have consistent characters over the whole fucking thing, which is really fucking cool. But it's what's amazing about these processes is how many times people's habits don't change from their old processes, and they just kind of like rinse and repeat it and put it into this process, which is always fucking cool.
Yeah, I think for me, I have not done a lot of video. I have done a decent amount of audio work over the years, and it kind of plays into that. I try to make the audio aspect as rich or have as much depth as possible for what I can do with the video stuff that we're doing, because I think that it allows the video to kind of play out longer. If you have something that is driving the story in terms of the ear sense of things, as opposed to just the eye sense, like the eyes, if you have the pixels lighting up, then our rods and cones are firing, right? But if you have like the sound aspect, then you will definitely get lost more in the moments, in the sequence of moments that are being constructed for you.
Can I just ask you? Is it like what I would think of as a radio play that you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
right,
100%.
It's a real old-fashioned idea, that radio play, but I grew up on them. I'm old enough that I remember Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as a radio play on at the weekends.
The only reason I don't call it a radio play is because it's not on the radio, so I call it an audio play.
Oh, for sure. But that's my point of reference in my head for what you're doing. So it's more than just an audio book, which is just a straight reading.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I put them both on there as audiobooks. So like I did a collection. I did my first short story release last year, and then I did 3 readings of other well-known authors like Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft, and I did those as just straight narration. And then I also did the audio play version as well, so that like you get a little bit more as opposed to just listening to me read the story.
Well, no, that's terrific, because you've got a wonderful voice, really wonderful voice.
Thanks.
And I've got like a really terrible voice.
No, I don't agree with that.
No, don't say that. I would love to hear you narrate something. Don't ever say that.
No, seriously, and I've tried actually, and I just, because my voice breaks up. I got a bit of a thyroid issue, so that part of my kind of voice box is not, kind of gives out, so I don't think I can narrate my own book, which is, I've actually been pushing it through 11 Labs.
I don't know.
Which I
Sounds fine to me.
I can do if I want to then upload it to Audible. I don't know whether you know anything about that.
So Audible's current policy is that you are not supposed to use AI to perform the book. But I think that they're kind of changing on that, because I know Apple Books did roll out AI Reader for their platform, and I have a feeling that Amazon, I'm kind of remembering that Amazon was talking about something like that too. But honestly, I think your voice is fine. And if you just do it, if you did the recording in segments so that you don't, work yourself to death on it, then you do an hour one day, do an hour the next day, or do a chapter one day, or however, you feel comfortable. And maybe if you like over a couple of days get tired, then you can start working on editing, because editing, you will spend more time editing than you will recording. And I would say that would be the way to do it, because people probably do want to hear your voice actually read it. I appreciate when an author is performing the reading of their book. Not always,
100%.
But yeah, exactly. Like most of the time, I find it to be better or more connected to the intent of the message when I hear voice actors reading them. Sometimes I really like them, and I'll listen to like various performances of a book if it's fiction, and kind of dig different things out of there as they relay their interpretation. But for nonfiction or even for fiction, for me, I like the voice acting part of doing fiction, so I'll play with that when I'm doing the recording. For the nonfiction stuff, it's basically it's all my content that I wrote, so it kind of just makes sense that I'm doing it in that way. But yeah, I would say give it a shot, see how it goes. You can bring in a test here and let us hear it as well.
Yeah, maybe. Well, the other problem I've got is I've got like a Yeti mic, Blue Yeti mic, which is just sort of middling, isn't it?
No.
But the other problem I have is the room that I would do it in. My office is it's got a vaulted ceiling, and so there's this echo that I can't kind of quite get rid of.
Oh man.
So
I mean, so there's a bunch of free tools that'll help you with that.
Right.
Two things I'd recommend. Number one is if you really want to try and do this, also look into vocal training. I think 11 Labs actually does vocal training, which would be really cool because then you could have it be your voice, but in an AI generated version, and you could own that model. If 11 Labs doesn't let you keep the model, just ask me or Michael, or get Michael to get a hold of me, and whatever. I'll point you in the direction of a thing that'll let you train where you get to keep your model, and then roll with that. Second thing is Adobe Podcast. It's free. I think you can do quite a bit of audio on there, and it cleans it up beautiful, like right out of the box. And that's what's kind of like really awesome about it.
Adobe Podcast, you say?
Yep, it's on the web. It's free for anyone, and I think if you're an Adobe user, like you're a subscriber like me, you get to do it a whole shitload more. Like I use it in Premiere all the time because they just integrated it, but it's fantastic. I use the Enhance all the time, even on Michael's voice sometimes.
Hey,
right. Yeah, no, I did try making my own model of my own voice, and it kept going Australian. I don't know why, but I found that annoying.
That's hilarious.
Which is really weird because if you actually look for Australian voices on 11 Labs, there's like hardly any of them.
What's
So
the
I don't know
difference?
how it was. Oh, they are quite different.
I'm just teasing you. I'm just playing with you.
But I was surprised though. So my own voice didn't even sound authentically like me. So anyway, maybe I should go back and do longer clips for it or something.
Yeah, you could do trainings differently where it gets closer. And if it's hearing Australian, it's probably been programmed by an American because Americans love accents, and Crocodile Dundee taught us that we love Australians.
Well, anyway, I wasn't very happy with it, so I kind of just used one of the stock ones on there. But I agree with you. I do prefer it myself when the author reads the book. So in an ideal world, that would be the right thing to do. So, Mike, what's your story about then? Is it a fiction? It must be if you've got sounds and it's like a play, yeah?
Yeah, so just real quickly, I would say your Yeti is probably good enough to run with. I just use an SM58 to do all my audio stuff. I have used a condenser in the past, but basically now I try to make it easier on myself. I would say control the room as best as you can, but then again, Adobe Podcast can clean that up. If you can record in like a smaller room, even a closet, like a walk-in closet that has carpet or clothes around, that will soak up all the reverberation. That's an option as well. My stories, currently that I have available that I've written, the first one is kind of, I don't know, a psychological drama circle sort of thing. It's very short. It's only like 1,200 words. It's quite brief. The last one that I put out is called Relic of the Aztecs. That one's about 3,000 words. It is basically alternative history, and it looks at the last days of the Aztec Empire and juxtaposes that against the fall of Troy. I would say that would be kind of what that story does in general.
Sounds cool.
Well, hey, check it out if you like.
Well, where would I find it?
Well, it's on Amazon right now is the ebook. that is the only version that is available right now because like I said, I'm still editing the audiobook, so that's not quite out yet. Um, Maybe next month, if I can get it all in shape, I will release it next month. If I can't, then it will be available in May, and then it'll be up on Audible, ACX, and Amazon and stuff, and Apple Books as well. So a few different places.
Look, Apple Books I hadn't even thought about. So how easy is it to publish things to Apple Books? Because I hadn't even considered that.
It's easy, but for me, I actually did a couple of books to Apple Books originally, and didn't find it to be as necessarily like worth the trouble. So I just do KDP for the ebooks, but the audiobooks I distribute as broadly as possible, because that way, you're able to get into libraries, you get more international markets, and there are a lot of different platforms and vehicles for that. So the audiobooks, and I'll be honest with you, like my audiobooks sell more than my ebooks and paperbacks now. So that's kind of like why I'm always trying to get that stuff out as rapidly as possible.
Well, this is it. And I'm not surprised, because I basically just listen to audiobooks probably 90% of my reading, because I just find them so convenient.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd much rather an audiobook most of the time, unless it's actually like a textbook or something. Yeah. So what was I going to ask? There was something. Oh yeah, audio files. When you're trying to make an audiobook, things you've done it, you might be able to help me with this.
Yeah.
Do I have to split the audio file into multiple files? And if so, do I just upload them to Audible separately, or do I have to stitch them together somehow? Is there...
No, so they're going to require that each one of your chapters is an independent file. It will.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they take MP3s now. I'd have to look. For some reason I thought it was waves, but I'm pretty sure it's MP3. So every chapter will need to be its own file, and then additionally you'll need kind of like your front matter, so like your title, your author, and read by, copyright information, that kind of stuff. That'll be its own chapter. It'll be its own file. And then your very closing, whatever closing content you have, saying like it could be as simple as the end, that will be its own chapter as well. But you have to make sure that all of those are independent files, and then you'll title each one of those as you're putting them in, and that way basically you'll have a table of contents for your audio listeners, for your audiobook
I see.
listeners.
So they can skip between the chapters,
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's helpful. Thank you. I just haven't done it before, so I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it's okay. That's why we do this.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because I'm not trying to go the publishing route. I'm not trying to get an agent. I'm not trying to get a publisher. I was actually thinking about making my own indent. Have you done that or thought about doing that?
You mean like having like an indie publishing company of your own?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have a company, and my books are technically out through my company. So in that sense, yes.
And do you put it in KDP as an indent?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just wondering how legit you have to be. Does it have to be a limited company, or could it just be sole trader?
Well, I mean, I don't know how it's going to factor in for where you live. So like, I don't want to speak necessarily on the legal processes that you need to go through that I'm completely unaware of because of national laws and stuff like that. I would say you need to get informed on that. In terms of their platform, my guess is they make it as seamless and as upfront and clear as possible for wherever it is that you are based. But in terms of the US platform and loading up, it's very clean and easy. And I would guess it's probably the same for you.
And they want you to be an LLC, or are they not bothered?
You don't have to have it underneath a company. So like you could just file it as your own person, and you could just put like a fake name on there for the publisher, and that would be essentially like DBA, and I don't know if that is like a thing that you have in your country or whatever, but that's kind of how America works.
DBA means
Doing
what?
business as.
Oh, right. So sole trader, it would be in this country. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm just, I've got to make all these decisions.
Yeah.
Before I upload it. And I have uploaded a couple of books because I wrote a couple of children's books. Last time we spoke, I'd
Very
done
cool.
a couple of children's books, but I didn't bother to do an indent for them or even think about doing it. So,
Yeah, I wouldn't
but at
sweat
this
about
point, yeah, because I'm quite proud of myself. I've written 65,000 words for
that. Yeah,
this
it's a
novel,
lot.
which is a lot, but it's also probably not quite as much as most novels. But
No,
it's
that's right
good
in the
enough.
pocket. That's right in the pocket of the novel length. Yeah, 60 to 100,000 words.
Yeah. So,
I mean, just to give you an idea, I haven't written that much ever. Even screenplays are not that long, or at least that many words. It's more just dialogue. So
yeah.
you're doing better than most of the people I know in film. So, at least take that under consideration.
So do you write screenplays for films then? Is that I don't know you guys very well, I'm afraid, so I don't know what you do.
Well, not as a profession. I wish. But I did try doing that that was actually why I'm so doxxed on Twitter. Is there was a point in time where they were like, oh, if you want to be in film and you want to get funding for your projects, and it's better to be a writer. And then if you're a writer, you got to be like doxxed so that people are like connecting with you and not just some screen name that you have and shit like that. So, but it's one of those things. Like, I was working on sets for years, and that was more of the creative profession I had, and it's it's just a matter of trying stuff out. And I think like really whatever it is you're working with, just try stuff out, see if it works. As far as the legal and like business end of it, yeah, just look into like whatever's the safest. For us, LLCs are the safest as far as like really independent, because you can make them really easy, you can break them real easy, and tax liabilities are usually pretty light. But wherever you're at, just find out what the laws are or what the easiest entry is, and go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly could set up a limited company, and I do already have a limited company. But I don't know whether I want to go all that trouble if this is the only book I publish, But yeah, it's something to think about, isn't it? I want it to look as good as possible and as legit as possible. Before all the hate comes at me. So I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. It's going to be an absolute shit show. But whatever. I think the main thing is that I really enjoyed the process of writing it, and I didn't think I would. Like, I was surprised myself. I was like, oh bloody hell, this is really good fun. And I've always been a graphic designer, so I've never really thought of myself as a writer. So I was sort of surprised myself how much I got into it and how natural it was, actually.
Yeah, and that's why we do it. Writing takes all different forms. The video short that I'm working on now, I'm kind of thinking how I could turn that into a short story in terms of the editorial. Retroactively, I don't know how easy or difficult that will be. Where I started with it initially, outlining and throwing ideas together, I don't use a whole lot of that at this point, as I'm getting close to this first rough draft export. But at the same time, there's perhaps enough tools and enough familiarity for myself to get maybe 1,000 words down and then flesh all that out into a stronger narrative, stronger story, with more appropriate details and craft for it. And that's been interesting. I've never worked that way, to go from video to editorial. I don't think I've ever done that, but I'm proving something new to myself in terms of writing and publishing, perhaps. We'll see.
Cool. Sounds hard, actually.
Yeah, well, we like the challenge to a degree. all the same,
nothing worth doing is easy.
right? Yeah. Well, we've been going for an hour or more now. There are other folks hanging out just listening, and I do appreciate you. If there are any comments that you would like to make or things you would like to promote or questions that you might have, now is that time to ring the bell before I kind of wrap this thing up for today. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Do this every 2 weeks. It's very informal, just basically kicking ideas around, talking shop, and doing some promotion. Obviously, if people have projects that come out, you're more than free and welcome to promote them and let us know about them so we can let other people know about them as well. That's what this is for. You can find the recording on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms in a couple of weeks. The last episode was out on Monday. It is linked above in the bird's nest there in the Jumbotron. We'll talk before too long, and I do appreciate you hanging out with me today.
Thanks, Michael. I enjoyed it. It's only my second time that I've noticed that you've had it.
Back in 2 weeks. Have a good night.